Hey guys, in this video we're going to be seeing about if-else statements. Now what is an if-else statement? A if-else statement only executes if the condition specified is satisfied. Now let me give you the syntax. It's generally if, and within the parentheses you give a condition, and if the condition is satisfied, whatever is inside the if statement, inside the block of code, statement is executed. Now, there can be other conditions, and you use else if, and you specify the other condition, and it's similar to the if statement. Now, finally, you give an else, and there's no condition because you use the default condition in the else statement. Now, this is a syntax of if-else conditions. Now, in an if-else block, there can be only one if condition and one else condition, but you can have a number of else if. Depends on the situation. You can have 2, 20, 200, anything. Now let's get to the code. Now I want to create a code where the user enters a positive or negative number, and using if else statements we tell them whether they entered a positive or negative number. For that, let me initialize an integer variable called value printf enter a number. Now the first if condition is if the number is positive. So all the operators that I covered in previous videos, you can use them inside the if condition, or you can use them in combination like logical and or. Now let me just do a simple one. The comparison, if it's greater than 0, printf %d is a positive number. I'm going to also use an else if, suppose the value is equal to 0. So value equal to 0. Now the else is for values less than 0. Now the else is for values less than 0. Now let's save it and run the program. Compile it, run it, enter a positive number. The first if statement was executed. Enter 0, and the else if statement was executed. Now, one last time, enter a negative number, and the else statement was executed. Now we covered if, else if, and else statements. Now one last thing is known as nested conditions it's not only for conditions, it's for loops, which we'll see later. Now, I want the user to enter a number between 1 and 5. So we already have this if statement, which gets executed if the value is greater than 0. So you can have conditions within your conditions, if that makes sense. So I'm having an if within my first if. Value is equal to 1. It's going to be a pain to type all this. Printf. The value is 1. Let me erase this. Now I need this 4 more times. So I copy it and paste it, but change the value because I want the user to enter a number between 1 and 5. Now, as I said before, there can only be one if statement in an if block, so these should be else ifs. It's not compulsory that you need an else. This can be else if too. Now, for the first if, we follow it up by else to say invalid input. Now, how this nested if works is if the value entered by the user is greater than 0, then the control enters here. Then it checks if the value is 1. If it is, it's printed, or else it checks the else if, and so on. If the value entered is not greater than 0, it goes to the else statement and prints invalid input. So nested statements, nested conditions and nested loops are very handy, and you'll know why in future videos. Hope you understood nested. Hope you understood nested ifs. Now let's save, compile, and run the code. Hope I didn't miss anything. Okay, run it. Now, if I enter a positive number, which is between 1 and 3, now I enter a positive number, such as 3. It goes into the first if, and then it goes into the else if, which said if value is equal to 3. Now, you can be more specific in this by using logical AND. Value is less than or equal to 5. So it goes to the it goes into the else statement even if you enter a positive number, but it should be between 1 and 5. So even if you entered 6, it would go into this. The control would go into the first if statement, which we don't want because we only wrote till 5. So let me save it, close it, and run it. Compile it first, run it. Now if I enter 6, it goes into the else statement directly instead of going into the first if statement. Hope you understood if, else, and nested statements. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.